here, you have to add the word to. You're not just delivering something, you're delivering something to somebody. So you have to add the word to. Any others that would work?
The government must communicate comma the public commands message.
Okay. So the government must communicate, what's the next word?
The public command is message.
The public or to the public? So that's the big question. It's not that big of a question, but actually, but what is, so that is the key question is, should it be the government must communicate to the public, or the government must communicate, comma, the public? Okay, so let me try this another way. Raise your hand if you think. Raise your hand if you think that it should be the public. Okay, raise your hand if you think it should be to the public.
To.
What about with the public?
Okay, that's good. So we have nothing, we have to, and we have with. So let's try these options. If I said the government must communicate the message, well, okay. The government has a message that they're wanting to tell somebody. It's not necessarily a discussion where you're sharing information. There's a message that the government wants to tell the public. They want to get that message to the public. So the government must communicate the message to whom?
To the public.
To the public. So it would be to. Because you're communicating not just with somebody. It's not necessarily like they're having a part to say so in the discussion, otherwise it might be with. But if you're just delivering a message to tell somebody, you're delivering it to somebody, to the public. So in this case, the right answer would be to. So the government must communicate to the public. The message. And like you pointed out, the commas here are important because it's separating this thought. You're saying the government must communicate to the public the message. Because this here, if you just hid to the public, the rest of the sentence still has to make sense. So if I took this away, the government must communicate the message. That makes sense, right? So you have to, in order to, if you want to step back and be like, does this sentence make sense? Cover this part that's separated from the rest of the sentence and read it and ask yourself, does this make sense? Which it does. Because what you're communicating is the message to the public. Now, I will say that I do hear this. Even as this, if I said with, then that might imply it's a little more conversational. That, not that you're saying it has to be, but if you say with the public, you want to share that information with the public. It might be a little bit more dialogue involved with that. That's just the implication. But if you just want to tell somebody with no plan on really discussing it, you're just a message you're going to tell to somebody, then you would say to. But I can definitely see when you would say with, and with would still make sense to me. Does that make sense, this one? Okay. Does that make sense? Is it your head hurt? Okay.
กินน้องแม่สอนกินอ่ะ เย่น้อง
Do one of you guys mind reading this aloud?
The judges awarded Emily the first prize.
Okay. So the judges awarded Emily the first prize. What's another way you could say this?
The judge awarded the first prize to Emily.
Yeah. Okay, now let's step back for a second. Is this sentence, first of all, how is this sentence wrong?
First prize is to the right after award the first prize to Emily.
Okay, so that's another way of saying it. But let's answer the questions. Judge is what the subject, right?
Yes.
The judges awarded who?
Emily.
Emily. What did they award Emily?
First prize.
So is this sentence actually right? Yeah. Okay. So,
The long phrase of the first prize.
how?
The long phrase. You should use the first prize after award.
You could, but you could either be saying you're awarding who or awarding what. I'm awarding her. That's true. I'm awarding her what? The first prize. Or I'm awarding what? The first prize.
To
who? Emily. So I could still say it like you did. The judges awarded.
the first prize.
Yeah. So that still works.
This kind of sentence sometimes it doesn't need to add to.
Huh?
This kind of sentence sometimes it doesn't need to add to like.
Yes, it's like this one,
Yes,
right?
because it is like I buy my sister a car like this. I bought my sister a car, so it doesn't need to, but like I buy a car to my sister.
Right, exactly. You're and that's a good point. In this sentence here, the first one, you don't have the word to. You're buying who? Or you're not buying who? I guess I'm using your example. You're awarding Emily the first prize. But yeah, in this case, if you let's see, if you're answering so here, you're answering, are you answering the who question first or the what question first? The who, yeah.
Emily.
And I'm awarding her, so who and then what? But when I answer the what question first, I have to say to here. Any other ways I could say this?
Emily was awarded the first prize from judge.
Okay, good. So it's quite a bit different. So Emily
Lost.
So Emily was awarded what?
What is the first prize from?
Did you say from? So yeah, this changes it entirely, but it still is the same thought, in that now it's talking about Emily being the focus of this sentence. She was awarded what? The first prize from who? The judges.
It's a passive voice. A sentence.
Yes, so in this case,
Yeah, passive voice.
you have one more. Do you mind reading this?
Yes. Lucy explained us the rules of the game.
Okay. So this sentence is right?
Right, right.
Wrong.
Right.
So this sentence is not right, actually.
Not right? Lucy explained the rule
I'm
of
keeping you guys on your toes.
to us. To us.
To us, yes. So if I left it like this, I would be saying Lucy is explaining us, which is not what I'm doing. So if I left it like this, and I just pretend I just thought about this phrase here, Lucy explained us. That's saying that Lucy is like describing me to somebody else, which that's not what she's doing. She's not describing me. She's describing the rules. So can you say yours one more time?
Lucy explained the rules of the game to us.
Yes. So yeah. So Lucy explained what?
The rules
To who?
to us.
To us. Yeah.
You would say Lucy explained to us the rules of the game.
Yes. Yes. So Lucy. I'm sure that sound was getting annoying. So Lucy explained to us the rules of the game. So again, yeah, here, and this is probably the most like the first sentence, except it's adding the important to. Because you want to ask, you remember, when you're asking these questions, you're asking, let's use this as an example. Lucy explained what?
The rules of the game.
And then she's explaining the rules of the game
To us.
to who? To who, not just who. So in this case, you're explaining it's going to somebody. Directions or its rules are going to somebody. And then yeah, last one. Lucy explained to who the rules of the game. So what? The rules of the game. Any other ways you could say this, do you think? What about to us? Lucy explained the rules of the game.
The rules of game explained by Lucy.
You might, if you speak very formally, you could say that. You could say to us. You could put this part, this at the beginning of the sentence. To us, comma, Lucy explained the rules of the game. I don't talk like that.
Yes.
You could say it like that.
You never seen to us. You never see. The sentence.
You've probably never seen it. You've probably never seen it at the beginning. Yeah. Okay. Any questions? Any questions at all? Not even just related to this, but. The rest of the exercise will take too long. So, does everybody have their books? Their Slumdog books? So, everybody turn to page 35. So yeah, on page 35 we're going to start on this sentence that reads, the next day we were in the bunker again. Okay, so do you want to start?
The next day, we were in the bunker again. On the television, some men were discussing the war. Mr. Colconman turned it on. Let's listen instead to our war hero. He said, we turn to forward one thing. Tell us about Mandela region. Woman looked pleased. We know that the Pakistan plan was to capture Mandela. He explained, if that happened, we would have to leave Cham and the place west of Tawid.
Guys, make sure you're listening. I just want to make sure everybody can hear you read. So, keep it started. Go one more time.
At 3 o'clock on the morning of the 5th of December, they attacked. There were Pakistani tanks shooting at us on the ground and Pakistani planes dropping bombs on us from above. Our commander was killed and many of our soldiers were shot. The next morning, the the enemy flag was flying above Mandela Bridge. Then the commander of 368 Brigade aligned from up north. He looked around and saw dead bodies everywhere. Those soldiers that were still alive were running away. For one thing, he said to me, "What is happening? Where are all our men going? They are running away," I told him, "but I will fight until the end, sir." "Good man, Paul," he said. When the fighting started again, Mandela Bridge was filled with fires and explosions. Bullets went past us. Enemy planes flew over our head and bombs exploded all around us, but we ran forward and attacked our enemy, shooting and killing many men. Then the Pakistanis decided to bring their tanks across the Tawi River.
Okay, so what's happening so far?
Please.
Make sure we're paying attention to it. I want to make sure everybody can kind of hear what she's saying. So, what happened so far? Like, what did we just read?
Fighting about fighting.
Yeah. So yeah, basically war stories right now. What did you say?
No, FI and explosion.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So go ahead. Yeah. Well,
You must stop them across the bridge, the commander said. But when the Pakistani tanks began coming across the bridge, two of our men left their tanks and ran away. I immediately jumped into one of our empty tanks and began driving it toward the Pakistani bunker. They continued to fire at me, but I did not stop. After 20 minutes, only one Pakistani tank was left. I chased it. When it tried to get away, my tank was hit by an enemy shot and caught fire. But I continued to chase the last tank. Suddenly, that tank exploded. All the enemy tanks were now destroyed. One thing went on, but there was some rocket launcher around the bridge, and the Pakistani flag was still flying above it. I had to pull it down. I began moving toward the Pakistani bunker. When I was 10 meters from the bunker, I started shooting. 3 of the 4 soldiers in the bunker died. I was going to shoot the fourth when I realized I had no more bullets. The Pakistani soldier saw this and smiled. He shot at me, and several bullets hit my left leg. I fell to the ground, and he pointed his gun at my chest. I said my prayer and was ready to die. But when he tried to fly, there was only a creek. His tank was also empty. He shouted and ran toward me, but I stood up quickly and hit him on the head hard. He fell to the ground and did not move. Finally, I pulled down the enemy's flag and replaced it with the Indian flag. I was the happiest moment of my life.
Thank you.
Raven seeing suraphet speaking, and we saw that his eyes were filled with tears. Nobody moved for almost a minute. The lioness asked the same question again. So, what did they give you for this? He said. They didn't give me anything, but Bawan said. After a moment, everyone was silent again. Suddenly, all the children started to walk past Bawan Singh, shaking hands with this brave soldier. Bawan Singh cried tears of happiness. Then he hurried out of the room on his own leg.
Thank you. Okay, so now we're transitioning. Again, these little lines, we're transitioning from one stage to the next. Either could be from one time period to the next, but just a change of setting, pretty much. Do you want to read some?
The next day, a man came to collect money for a soldiers' charity. He told us that our soldiers were doing a great job. Our country was great. Our Prime Minister was great. We were great. And the money that we gave, we say should also be great. He passed around a box and people put money in it. Bawan Singh was not there. He was not feeling well. Did you fight in 1971 war? Mr. Kulkarni asked the man from the charity. Yes, of course. The man said. I was in shock. Did you get any word? Asked Kulkarni. Yes, he did. Yes, he said. I was commander at Mandara Bridge. What kind of person are you? Said Kulkarni. You take awards yourself, but do not give them to the man who won back the bridge from the enemy's army. I don't understand, said the man. Who are you talking about? Our old soldier, says Kulkarni. He was a hero during the 1971 war. Then he told him Bawan Singh's story. Where is the great soldier? The man asked. We took the man to Bawan Singh's room and waited outside while they talked. Soon we heard loud voices. Then the man came out. He was very angry. That man is not a war hero. He shouted at us. He ran away from shop. He should be in prison. Everything that he told you was a lie. Let me tell you his true story. Bawan Singh's first child had just been born when the war started. The man explained he wanted to be with his family, so he ran away from the fighting. He managed to reach his house in Pakankot and hid there. 2 days after, he arrived, a Pakistani bomb fell on his house, killing his wife and son. But Bawan only lost a leg. Talk first.
The man from the soldier charity finished speaking, and we did not know what to say. After a few minutes, the man left, still very angry. Brown one